That's all I needed to see. He's like, I've got proof that Hillary Clinton created Russiagate. That, I'm not a Trump supporter, but Trump the election was not interfered with by Russia. It was all a conspiracy made up by Hillary Clinton. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, he's that guy now. But he's always been that guy. What everyone is saying is, oh my God, he used to be so smart. No, he didn't. When? 10 years ago when he said people shouldn't vote? When was he smart? When was he smart? He's recently been against the vaccine and against wearing masks. He doesn't, he's one of those people that is like, come to my show without a vaccine, without a mask, I don't care. He's low-key starting a cult. He's doing these yoga classes and all this shit. I mean, the dude is a strange freak. I just never liked the guy. So here's my Russell Brand story. I never liked the way well, first of all, he was on Chelsea Lately. Now that show ran like clockwork. The show was a half-hour show on the E! Network. That is half-hour with commercials. So we are taping a 22-minute show. It is tight. There was barely any editing. The only editing we did on the show was really, if somehow we went 30 seconds over, we would find ways, 5 seconds here, 5 seconds there. Maybe if someone's joke didn't go that well, just to keep the integrity of the show. But if you went to a live taping of Chelsea Lately and you watched it that night, you'd be like, yeah, this is exactly the same. Tight ship. We have had some A-list guests. We've had Jennifer Aniston. We've had Reese Witherspoon. We've had Dave Grohl. We've had A-listers. They were never late. They never demanded anything. And it was a very low-key production in that sense that the year that Russell Brand was on, our offices were located in Santa Monica, California, which is closest to the ocean, like about a mile from the ocean, which is pretty far from most production studios. A lot of stuff is in the valley, so we didn't have a lot of stuff around us. There was a coffee bean kind of kitty corner to our studios, but we taped at 3 p.m. and there was nothing in that area that stayed open. There was like restaurants that were lunch only, breakfast and lunch only for workers, but at night they weren't open. And so there just wasn't a lot of places you could get things for people from. I'm making it sound like it was like 1801. We had to get a mule and then he had to go into town. But it was like that in the modern sense. And so, we had things in your room. There's alcohol if you wanted it. If you were a guest, there was bottled water, obviously. There was coffee. And I'm in my office and we had the live feed of the show on the TV. And the show taped from 2:30 to 3. And I'm sitting there and it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock. And I'm like, we're supposed to have the guest, is Russell Brand. I'm like, is he late? And they were telling me, no, he's here. He won't come out of the dressing room. And, he wasn't on drugs and he was sober. And he demanded that people get him this like triple dipple cappuccino kind of coffee thing. The coffee being across the street, but then he didn't want that and he didn't want this. And he needed the coffee, but then he couldn't come out for a while because he had to do a bunch of things after he had the coffee. I don't know what he was saying. He was saying, I actually can't remember it. And there were little coffee machines in everyone's dressing room, but that wasn't good enough for him. So there was never a guest ever that held up the show for an hour. Even Rick Springfield, who was a fucking mess at the time that we taped his episode, which was well over a decade ago, he showed up with 2 flat tires on his car and he was still on time. So anyway, I think Chelsea was just unimpressed. I think she thought he was like a total dick. And I just thought, I hate people like him that do this kind of, I'm a guru, I'm smarmy marmy, and like, oh, I used to be an addict, and now I'm like peace and love, and it's like, you're not, like, if you want to be like, oh, I'm a fucking asshole, be an asshole, like, I don't care, like, be, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an asshole, but I don't want to call anyone an asshole, but you know what I mean, if you're like the bad boy of comedy, or the bad boy of music, like, go ahead, like, be the bad boy, but don't be a hypocrite. That makes me crazy. So I never liked him, and that was whenever that was. It had to have been like 2008, 2009, because we moved to the new studio in like 2011. Or no, maybe it was like 2011. We moved to the new studio 2012. Anyway, cut to, I think it's 2012, 2013. I'm doing a show at one of my favorite places in Los Angeles, Largo, and Russell Brand is the headlining act. Now, he doesn't book the comedians. He was just there to do his stuff, and Flanagan, the owner, booked me on the show. And I remember thinking, well, this will be interesting, because at this point, I'd always hated him. I didn't like his comedy. I didn't like his smarmy snake body with his deep V and his long necklaces and his leather pants. I mean, I'm prone to wear leather pants on stage, but he was just, I just got a bad sense from him. And I had so many friends that were like, no, he's good. He wrote this book on addiction. And I was like, I like that he's advocating that addicts get treated like sick people and not criminals. But is there anyone else who can speak to this? Does it have to be him? Do we have to excuse everything he does because he's made some good points speaking to Parliament? You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut about this guy. So I'll give him a chance at the Largo. And I'm backstage and he just looks through you with those crazy ass eyes. How has he not played Charles Manson in a biopic? Not that we need another biopic about Charles Manson. I don't even know if there has been one. But like, prime candidate. I mean, he feels like that. Like when I looked into his eyes, it frightened me. And he's backstage, he's ignoring everybody. And you know, Largo's not that kind of place. They have a lot of celebrities roll through. You might have like a Judd Apatow on stage one night, and you're all backstage, you're all in these tiny little, you know, shared dressing rooms, and everybody kind of becomes friends for the night, and you chat, and it's the environment that Flanagan, the owner, almost demands. You know, you don't get to be a little prima donna, a little fuckface, but he was. And so Russell's manager or handler or some dude was backstage with him. Anyway, there is a tiny, I'm talking about your knees touch the door if you sit on the toilet, tiny bathroom backstage at Largo that every performer uses. There's no better bathroom for more famous people, right? There's just that one little bathroom. And when the door is shut, it's obvious that someone is in there. And I didn't know where Russell was or where anybody was. I had to pee. And so the door wasn't shut all the way. But it's usually kind of swung wide open. So I knocked and said, is anyone in there? There was no answer, but I could hear someone in there, so I didn't go in. Now, there's no way he didn't hear me, because again, this is a tiny bathroom where there's a crack open, and it's a very flimsy wooden door. Is anyone in there? No answer. So I moved to the side, because there's this sort of little like kitchen nook that you can stand in, and I just started, you know, opening the fridge and getting myself a water. Out comes Russell Brand out of the bathroom, and he just makes eye contact with me in that scary Charles Manson face and keeps walking with his leather pants on. And I'm like, thanks. And he says nothing. And I walk into the bathroom. I still literally gag thinking about it. There was a bunch of poop in the toilet. No toilet paper. So he has done poop. He hasn't wiped, and he didn't flush. Now, he left his phone and notebook on the sink. So if you went, well, maybe he brings his own handy wipes or something. Well, he didn't leave those on the sink. So Flanagan comes over to me, and I'm like gagging in the hallway. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, you pooped in the toilet. He's like, oh my God. So he flushes the toilet for me. He's like, oh, maybe you forgot. I'm like, oh no, that was deliberate. I knew right away. I said, I was telling this story to everyone and anyone who would listen. And everyone and anyone go, well, maybe he forgot to flush. He was nervous. Maybe he gets stage fright. I go, it was deliberate. He wanted the person who knocked on the door to smell and see his poop. And what's with the not wiping? And so then when I went in the bathroom and peed, I looked into the trash can in the bathroom. There was nothing in it. So it's not like he wiped and threw it in the trash can. Then I went back in my brain. Oh, he needed that coffee at Chelsea Lately because he has to poop before he goes on stage. Now that's fine. If you have some weird thing, you gotta poop before you go, that's fine. But it is some ritualistic thing around feces, and I always feel like sociopaths or psychopaths have something going on with feces.